What's everybody doing? It's Paul from Magpie 24/7 back again after being in this place yesterday to watch Newcastle United 1 Wolves nil. That's how it finished. It was a massive game. Not so much a make or break 90, but it was certainly one that the result was far more important than any sort of performance. And that's the sort of game we ultimately got yesterday. We wanted the win. We needed the 3 points, and we all wanted Nick Voltemade to get the goal. So as far as weekends go, it's a bit of a Carlsberg one, isn't it? It's pretty much job done. We had opportunities. It could have been better. We could have put a quarter gloss on it. We didn't. We made lives difficult for ourselves in the second half. But at the end of the day, we got the points. That was all that mattered. There was a lot of confidence I felt before the game, before the ball was even kicked yesterday, across the social media platforms. It's going to be 2, 3, 4, 5. I think pretty much everybody thought it was going to be a little bit of a procession. They were just going to be like turning up, rolling the carpet out, going through the motions, Newcastle United destroying them, and then them going home. I always felt it was never going to be that easy. I did my prediction before the game on Finalysis, and I went for 2-0. I thought it would be a pretty close game. I was having a couple of Wolves fans messaging me saying, "Oh, no, no, you're going to absolutely slaughter us, blah, blah, blah." I was like, "No, it's going to be a lot closer than you actually think." And there were several reasons why. Um, First of all, we do not play, historically, we do not play very well the first game back after an international break. That's why the beginning of the season is always a little bit frustrating. But that was my first worry and concern and reason why I didn't think this was going to be an absolute one-way, mismatch type job. So yeah, the international football, we never do play well afterwards. So that was my first thing. The second one, the likes of Bruno, 2 games in quick succession, one at altitude. I've seen oxygen tanks and all sorts of things like that. Traveling from the other side of the world, just getting back in on what Friday is it? It's not ideal, is it? So just physically, I know the first class. I know I'm going to get comments about this one. I know they'll be traveling first class. I know it'll be no expenses spared. I know that they'll have chefs. I know that they'll have meals specially prepared. I know they've got the latest, the biggest, the best with regards to fitness and recovery. But that only goes so much and so away. The humans at the end of the day, and if you're traveling, consistently around the globe, it will take its toll. There's no doubt about it. Bruno played both games, for example, for Brazil. I think only him and Alisson were the 2 out of the team for Brazil that played in the second game because obviously they'd already got through to the World Cup, so there wasn't really that much to play against. I think it was against Bolivia. But then we had other players, coming in. There was issues with the England lads getting back from Serbia, and Eddie Howe spoke about in his press conference. He only had about 8 or 9 players to be able to work with over the international break. So players coming back late, coming back into the training pitch, and then you've literally got the Friday before the game to be able to prepare. That's all your tactics, that's all your set pieces, who's picking up who, how we going to play. You've got then the Nick Voldemade situation. Now again, he's had I think it's 3 or 4. I think it's 4 training sessions with the rest of the lads. And that's not ideal. It's not ideal for the rest of the lads to sort of who were there, who were left behind, like your Jacob Murphys and your Lewis Halls and stuff. They to build that up. I mean, Walter Mard has got to get used to how we play, how we create chances, how we create goals. And it's the opposite way around as well. We've got to get used to him. He's got to get used to us. And that creates undoubtedly questions and problems. And he was speaking about it after the game, saying that Jacob Murphy was saying, "Look, I will get crosses in and I will get them in nice and early." And he said, "I was just waiting for them. I was just waiting for the crosses coming in." But it's literally such at just an early starting point. It is going to take that time to bed in. And that was my second reason why I was like, this isn't going to be the walk in the park that everybody and the mother was saying it was going to be. The third of which as well, Wolves' a start. Pointless, no wins. The pressure was on us, but the pressure was also on them. They need points. They don't want to be literally balls deep in a relegation battle, come a month or two into the season. So I always felt that they would have to sort of take the parking brake off and go for it a little bit. And they certainly did for the first couple of minutes, shall we say. The start of the game much more brightly, I felt. They had one or two good chances. I think two good chances within the first minute or two. And I was a little worried, a little bit shocked. I wasn't expecting it to just to steamroller them, but I wasn't expecting them to, you know, uh, it looked like utter domination for the first 2 minutes, and I was starting to get a little bit worried. But Nick Pope, fantastic, some good saves early on. And that's how three clean sheets in 4 games for Nick Pope. Much criticised, much maligned. I know his kicking is absolutely awful and dreadful, but shot stopping and stuff, he's fantastic, and he did that again in abundance. In the early stages of yesterday's game, kept us in it, and then from there, I felt we were the much better side in the first half. I thought Wolves were quite physical. I was quite shocked. They're number 14. He was up against Fabian Schär, and I was like, it's a little bit of a mismatch, this. I was like, well, can't we switch Dan Burn onto him? And, just sort of try and turn things around. But in Eddie Howe, we trust. And Fabian Schär, to be fair, he got literally battered from pillar to post, but he had the best of him. He had his number throughout the game. He was obviously substituted in the second half. But the defence, I thought, were magnificent again. Trippier with a couple of slightly, mistimed passes. Not to his high standards as normal, but at the same time, his leadership, his expertise, that sort of thing were invaluable, I felt, during the game and helped to see us the game out. But yeah, after the first couple of minutes, I was worried. After that, I was really convinced that we would win, we would see it out. The second half was a little bit squeaky bum time. Well, yeah, a little bit squeaky bum time during certain bits of it. But to say that they were chasing the game, I don't think Nick Pope had much to do in the second half, to be honest. Just sort of summing up the rest of the defence, we had played Livramento again at left back. I thought he looked a little bit tired, a little bit jaded. I was a little bit surprised that Lewis Hall didn't come in for this game, to be honest. But I get why, I suppose, because Livramento had such a good game for England. That's probably why he started this game. In first half, really, good, decent, not his best. Second half, not as great, but I think that was probably team-wide as well, to be honest. The midfield three, well, Bruno, like I say, I think, again, he played well, but I, again, think he looked a little bit jaded, a little bit below par to what, the high standards that we know that he can get. It's no critique at all, to be honest, because what he's done, it just shows you what a man he is, what a Mr. Newcastle United he is, that he even started the game, given all the travelling and, the difficult circumstances, the situation in Bolivia, playing up at altitude. He must have been absolutely and utterly knackered even just before he even started the match, but he wasn't to be denied. People again were saying on the queue in, I bet Miley might be starting today. Will he start Willock? Will he make changes there? Obviously, no Ramsey. I was like, nah. I was like, for all of me, as much as I think it possibly could be a good idea to give Bruno a little bit of a rest, before Thursday's game in the Champions League, nah. Anytime, if he's not injured, he wants to play. It's as simple as that. He rarely, misses a game, does he? So I'm not surprised that Bruno played the game. And like I said, he was decent. He wasn't his very, very champagne vintage best, but he wasn't bad by any, stretch of the imagination. Same with Joe Linton. He came back, obviously, after missing the Leeds game. Obviously didn't go away there with Brazil. Trained all week. And yeah, he covers every blade of grass. He puts the physical performance in. Again, decent. You'd be like a 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10 performance. We miss him. We miss him so much when he's not available. Just to see him back there. When he came off, I was like, oh, I hope he's okay. But he looked okay. He was fine. And Eddie Howe said afterwards, yeah, that was the plan, to be able to give him their minutes and protect him ahead of Barcelona. So great squad management there by Eddie Howe. And then the man of the match. The man of the match to me, Sandro Tonali. Um, Absolutely fantastic. People were saying, "Oh, we've lost our best player in the summer when the Swedish rat had left," but nah, the best player for Newcastle United, and I've said this consistently, is Tonali by a country mile. And people around us were saying, "Look, I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up attracting a Real Madrid or somebody like that. He is of that level, and I can understand that reason totally, absolutely. He's of that quality, but I don't think he's the type of person who would go about things in the same way that a certain Swedish player went about stuff. There's no problem with players moving on. Think of the Woodgate situation, for example. If there's a good uh, proposition for a player, you can't stand in the way. And I do think he's top tier, elite quality. There's no doubt about it. Other clubs will be looking at him again, no doubt about that. But yeah, just class, absolutely class. He was unlucky not to score a goal. Again, he was a player who was away with Italy, played well, scored a goal, high emotion in their games and stuff as well. I mean, a 5-4, I think it was, with Tonali. But that would have took a bit of an emotional drain on him, but it didn't show during the game. He had a slightly iffy start, a couple of passes out of place in the very early stages, but after that, for the rest of the 87 minutes plus stoppage time, absolutely fucking class. He just oozes class. He just goes through the motions, and everything's so smooth, so calm, so precise, so pinpoint. And he was just so damn unlucky. Again, like I said, on another day, you'd have won this 2 or 3-0. We had the opportunities there. Jacob Murphy, with the opportunity. Sandro Tonali absolutely smacking the post and it rebounding away. It was one of them, but there's bigger context. We got the job done at the end of the day. That was the main thing. Then out wide, obviously, Gordon still suspended game 2 or 3 that he's going to be missing. He'll be back for the Barcelona game. Harvey Barnes. I've seen a lot of different stuff on Harvey Barnes. A lot of things said. People sat round us were somewhat up in arms. Some were saying he's not playing that badly. He had a great chance. It would have been a worldie goal in the second half. Um, but I thought, go on, go on. And you want something like that to get his season going, but it didn't. And that's the thing for me. I just don't think his season has started. For whatever reason, I think it's been a golden opportunity with Gordon out of the team. And even when Gordon was in the team, he was playing as a striker. He could have nailed down that wide left position for his own. And I don't think he's done that. And I think he's left the door ajar for Gordon to come back in. Against Barcelona, I think Gordon starts. And I think Barnes is on the bench. I really do. And it's up to him to take the opportunity that will be at Bournemouth coming up to say to Eddie Howe, look, I can be the man, for that side. But no, on today's showing, it wasn't for me. But I know he's capable. I know he's capable of a million times better. Some of the goals that he scored, and he's got that ability, hasn't he, to be able to cut in on his right and absolutely smash one in the back of the net, and that's a rare talent. And we want, a fully firing Harvey Barnes in there as another sort of key to open up, Premier League defences and stuff. So fingers crossed, it'll turn around for him. I know he's just had a baby as well on the September the 11th for our number 11. Born at 11/11 as well. So it's maybe a lot going on in his personal life. It's bound to have some sort of influence on his professional stuff. You know yourself, for those of you who's had kids, when you have kids, it does unsettle everything else. There's a period of readjustment as you get used to the new norms of your life and stuff. And even on the money that these lads are on, it does affect. They are human at the end of the day. So confident Barnes will bounce back, but at the moment, it isn't there. He has got his mojo quite right. I think that's probably the best way to be able to say it. A little bit Austin Powers, that, isn't it? Sure, for now. On the other side, the debate was going to be, would Alanga be able to come in? Alanga hasn't really done it so far this season, but we know that he's more than capable and he's going to be given the time and the opportunity. I thought today was a game for Jacob Murphy. I think if If you're up against quality opposition, I'd be tempted to play Alanga because his pace on the counter-attack can be a real weapon to Newcastle United. If you're against a team who play a five at the back and play the low block and stuff, then you want somebody who can get the ball and then just straight away get across, knocked in. And that's what we were playing against today. The low block, the five across the back, a really defensive, solid, physical, meaty type side in Wolves. So we needed the crossing. So I wasn't surprised to see Jacob Murphy in there. I think it was quite harsh to lose his place, to be honest, in my opinion. And I thought he did quite well. Yes, again, give a ball away once or twice, but who didn't really at some stage of the other over the 90 minutes? I think everybody pretty much did during that game. But when you need a bit of quality, he provides it. He pings the cross in for Walter Mada to get his head on. Beautiful cross, met fantastically, but we'll get to him in a little bit. But yeah, a great cross. Had other opportunities. Was unlucky with the offside situation and stuff as well. Mr. Dependable never complains, never moans. Yeah, positive attitude. Will play wherever, whenever, however much that you want him to. And now it's just a massive question about the Barcelona game. Do you bring him in, as I've just said, Alanga, because we're probably going to have less of the ball and we are looking to counter attack? You can see the argument, can't you? But look, Murphy did nothing wrong in this game for me. Provided an assist. And look, he did that time and time again for that other striker that we used to have. Last season, how many goals did he lay on for that Swedish striker? And again, he's doing the same already for Nick the German, isn't he? And talking about our striker, we didn't really have much option because Asula, he's got a great chant. I love his positivity, but he's a striker who can't get strikes away. He can't pass. He runs about a lot. That's the only positive I can really say about Asula. I'm sorry. I know there's a lot of people who absolutely love him and rate him and stuff. Some thought he was going to start yesterday, but nah, it had to be Voltemada. The pressure was on him to get the goals and stuff. I think a lot of people have been watching the Germany game and were like, oh God, a little bit, maybe slightly put off, worried. Obviously, the Avisa situation. Get to him in a minute. But I said on social media on Magpie 24/7, you cannot compare apples and oranges. You cannot compare the Germany side and the Newcastle United side, who play in different ways, different systems, different management, etc., etc., etc. And that turned out to be the case. I saw enough in what I'd seen previously of him, on clips of him, and playing international to know that he was quality enough. I mean, Bayern Munich, they don't go after people if they're not bad players generally, do they? And they were literally all round him like a fly around you know what. So you knew he was going to be of good quality, definitely. And I thought he did. I thought he did really, really well. I think the first half, you're looking at a 9 out of 10. The second half, I don't think he was as effective. He talked about getting a little bit of cramp in the second half, and he spoke about the fitness levels. The fitness levels in the Premier League and the intensity and everything else is 1,000 times more than back in Germany. So it's going to take him a little bit of time to get used to that. But from what we saw, I was more than encouraged. Not just the goal, which was an absolutely fucking cracking header, old school cross, old school header. It was. Oh man, it was like Gillespie and Asprey. It was like Nobby Solano and Shearer, quality cross, get your head on it. But even not away from that, some of the touches, he bringing other people in. Um, I was intrigued. I was enthusiastic about his performance. Like you say, I think first half he was really, really good. Second half, not so much. But like you say, when he's coming off and he's cramping up and stuff like that, you've got to take that into the equation. And again, I think Eddie Howe would have always have done that. 65 minutes up. Let's get him off. Let's get somebody else on. Ideally, a Visser or a Gordon or somebody else, anybody really, apart from Masula. I was like, ugh, when he came on. You support the lad, any player who crosses the line, you support them 1,000%. But he's just not doing it for me. I'd have probably played in that game yesterday. Personally, me, not criticising or anything else like that. I think if I'd have took my pick If I was asked to make the substitution, I'd have done a Langer for Voltemade and I'd have played him through the middle. That's just me because I just don't see. I mean, we were close to selling Asula. That tells you everything that you need to know, I'm afraid. Yes, he's in the squad. Yes, he's paid by the club. So, yes, it'll be an option, no doubt. And probably until Vissa gets back. And that's the frustrating thing. 4 to 5 weeks out, he's going to miss 6 games. We haven't just bought him for a month or two. We've bought him for several years. I get that. But good, isn't it? He missed, what, 4 games, 4 games in, what, 4 seasons at Brentford. He hasn't even touched our training pitch and he's already injured. And I think we have a little bit of Congo to thank for that. I think a little bit of common sense should have been used. He's not had pre-season as of such. He's not had games. And then they're thrusting him into 2 games. Can you do 90 minutes for both? He only lasted 70 odd minutes in the second game and he broke down. And I think it would have been more clever to have said, look, we'll play you as a substitute in both games, or we'll give you a half in each game, because you've got to take into account, even if you're an international manager, you've got to think about the longer term and not just, oh, he's a great player, so we're going to thrust him in. He's a great player who hasn't got the fitness and hasn't got the sharpness because of no pre-season. I'm going to put him in gently. That benefits Newcastle United. That benefits Congo as well. Now he's going to be missing for, what, 4 or 5 weeks, and he's definitely going to be missing the next international break, because there's no way that we sit by, get him sorted, get him fit, and then he goes off and plays for them again. There's just no chance of that happening. He gets himself fit and available in that 4 to 5 week period. And then he's a substitute. He's brought on for 20 minutes. He's doing his fitness work with the coaches behind the scenes to get him up to speed on that side. And we gradually see him 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and he can do maybe a half. And it'll still be in possibly 4 or 5 games before we even consider starting him in a game. They've literally chucked him in at the deep end, Congo. And as a result, he's picked up an injury that we probably could have easily avoided. No common sense. I've made my frustrations with international football more than clear on several occasions. But this was just an absolutely stupid and avoidable one for me. I'm not disrespecting any international country or anything else like that, because literally all managers just seem to do it. It's like, well, we only need them for 2 games. If we get us through them 2 games and we get the results we need, then it's tough shit if anything else happens. But it shouldn't be about that. It should be about common sense and player welfare. And I don't think necessarily, based upon what I've just discussed, that that's being considered through. Go to the Congo. No problem about representing your country, where you're from. But take into account the fact that he's had no pre-season, he's had no matches. You're going to have to manage his minutes and pretend that he's still technically on like a pre-season return, gently, and just ease them into the situation. And this is the thing with players going on strike, refusing to train and stuff like that. It doesn't work. There was a better way for Wissa to do it. There was a better way for that other bloke as well to be able to do it. And it's bit us in the arse. It really has, because again, options-wise, it means that Voldemade has to start the next 5 or 6. And I'm not knocking him. He's capable of doing it, of course. But what you want is different options for Eddie Howe to be able to say, oh, it's this sort of opposition. We could do with a physical, that's fine. Oh, no, it's a different type of opposition. We want somebody in who's a bit more mobile. We want somebody who can drop a little deeper, blah, blah, blah. Or it could be that you want to play both of them up top, Play Nick Voldemade as a 10, play Visser up top. It takes and it robs us of that opportunity. And then I'm a bit gutted that obviously I didn't get to see him play yesterday. But look, we know that in a couple of weeks' time, we'll be able to see loads of him. But Eddie Howe certainly will not just chuck him in the deep end like he was chucked in the deep end internationally. He will take his time. The sports science will be important. He'll listen to the experts, and the experts will tell him when he's ready to start the full 90. And he won't start before then. It's as simple as that, because these days, we're a lot better on the looking after players and the sports science and everything else like that. Perhaps in times gone by, that hasn't been the case. But I think we're a lot more smarter and wiser about these types of things now. But still looking forward massively to see Vissa play in a Newcastle United shirt. It's just been, like I say, kicked down the line a little bit. We're probably looking at mid-October before we see him back on the substitutes bench. But I think in the meantime, our big giant German attacker will be terrifying defenders if I can get it all out in the right sequence. Um, and we won't have any issues there at all. And it means, like I say, Osula, on the positive side, he'll get some opportunities, and he's there to prove people wrong. You know, he got a scruffy goal, didn't he, against Liverpool? Let's face it, a toe poker. You get your foot out, you stick it out, it can go anywhere. He's just got to keep doing that, and he's got to keep working hard and training and improving. I just don't think he's anywhere near what we need him to be at the moment. Sadly, as much as I like him, and he looks like a likable character, a likable bloke, funny as, passionate, plays in the right way, but I just don't think he's got the right quality, not got the right touch, shots away. But we'll see how it goes. He's probably going to get an opportunity against Barcelona, and I mean, if you can't get your mojo up for that sort of thing, if you can't get yourself ready and hungry and wanting to score and wanting to positively impact a game, then you're in the wrong business at the end of the day. But yeah, I thought we did enough over the 90 minutes to be able to get the victory. Like I said before, could have had a little bit more of a lick of varnish on it if the Tonali one or the Murphy one had gone in. But I think in the end, I was sort of proved right with me thinking before the game, despite the fact I went for 2-0 and it was a 1-0, that it was going to be a closer game than what many expected. That's the way it turned out. We haven't won in quite a long time, you know, with regards to months and stuff, competitive action. So it's important just to get that monkey off our back, the monkey off the back as well for Waldemar scoring that first goal. He's going to be leading the line now against Barcelona. He'll have Gordon as well up there as well, which will be interesting to be able to see. It's another little caveat, another little side story in the big drama of what's going to be happening on Thursday night. So the players saw the game out fantastically well, not playing anywhere near the vintage best, but still, you know, seeing the game out, still getting the 3 points is great. And look, we played better against Aston Villa. We played probably better when we played against Liverpool. We got a draw and a loss out of those two games. Today, we didn't play our very, very best. It wasn't champagne Eddie Howe style football, but we got the job done. And that's what matters at the end of the day, because, you know, you don't want to have a bad start of the season and already before you've really got going, the season's pretty much a write-off. You don't want that. A win pushes us up to the top half of the table, there or thereabouts. And we go again. We go again. Intrigued to see what Voltemade can keep on doing. I thought the presence for that header was absolutely fucking fantastic. No keeper was stopping that. And like I say, I'm just keen to find out what's going to happen next. And he'll just continue to get better and better and better as that integration starts, as he gets more training sessions, a bit of Eddie Howe magic on him. And he gets the tactical side of it. He gets to know his teammates and what they like to do and how they like to make the runs. And you can get that telepathic understanding going. So many positives. A few, like I say, minor negatives. But the major point is we won the game. We got the points. No new injuries. And we know that this is not going to be out. You know, some people, there was a lot of scaremongering, ACLs and stuff like that, out for the season. We've avoided that. So that has to be looked on as a major positive, you know. It could have been a lot worse. And we're going to see plenty of goals from both Wissa and Voltemade this season. Let me know down below what you thought, you know, of the team, of the substitutions, and everything else. What did you make of Nick Voltemade? Let me know down below in the comments. And Barcelona, are you going? Let me know down below. Your thoughts on the Barcelona game? Their manager will be on the touchline because previously he wasn't going to be. He got a red card, didn't he? But that's been rescinded and stuff like that. That gives them a little bit of a boost. They are playing this evening as I'm recording this, on the Sunday afternoon. They're playing later on today. So again, we got a little bit more rest bagged for this one. But again, then we play on Thursday night and then a difficult game against Bournemouth. So swings and roundabouts and stuff, but a massive game on Thursday. Lots of energy, lots of noise, lots of anticipation, lots of excitement for that game. So it's going to be a totally different atmosphere inside St James's Park, which was a little bit below its normal, bubbly self. I mean, it was still, it was still absolutely fine. It was still great. It was still, full, but it's going to be nothing compared to the sights and the sounds and the Champions League anthem that'll be playing on Thursday at St James's Park. So we will be back. We'll have a review of that match on the Friday. We'll get that recorded and we'll get that up probably pretty early in the morning on Friday, because then it's straight into the press conference, isn't it, for Eddie Howe for the weekend's game, his return to Bournemouth, and then we'll have the press conference review roundup of the press conference then in the afternoon. So 2 videos coming up to you on Friday. And again, anything big, breaking news, issues out like that, we'll be back with another video on Magpie 24/7. Check out Ian's video as well. He's done one just sort of summarising up the entire summer transfer window, ranking it for each and every team, who's done well, who hasn't, who should be worried and looking over the shoulders, and who's had an absolutely cracking summer transfer window. I think we didn't do too bad. So yeah, I'll be watching Ian's video shortly after I finish this one. Please do so as well. Like that video, give it a like, give it a comment, subscribe to Magpie 24/7. Again, if you can like and comment on this video, it helps us massively out as we really look to push the YouTube side of things for Magpie 24/7 this season. So your support is greatly appreciated. I think I've covered everything on there. No injuries, 3 points, Newcastle heading in the right direction, up the Premier League we go and all that sort of thing. So I will leave it there. In the meantime, take care. Keep it tuned. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday into the working week. Get some graft done and look forward to Thursday and Barcelona. Take care. See you later.